Did you know that God will give you wisdom to get through the test you think you're about to fail? He will also put you in rooms where wisdom is already there. You just have to go grab it. That's the kind of God we serve. Welcome to the Wisdom Room.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wisdom Room podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Crump, and you're tuned in to episode 13, Unfiltered Wisdom, a wise Q&A with B. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. Tonight's episode is going to be a little different. We're completely live. I've been going through the week and having all of you all submit questions that will help me share a little wisdom, and we're going to put those up during the episode. Also, feel free to drop questions in the chat. I'm really excited about this one. I usually go, I pre-record and I'll edit from there. But tonight, we pushing the live button. We're sitting down and I want to hear what you guys have to ask. This is going to be an interesting episode. So I pray that all is well with all of you. I pray that everything goes well with all the airways, the production, the audio, the visual. So I'm excited to be here. Again, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We got questions that were submitted to the email. My producers have some questions, so we're going to go through tonight's episode, and it's going to give me an opportunity to open up a little bit. Tonight, I am my own guest on my podcast. So we'll see what God does through this episode. And like I said, feel free to engage. This is a conversation between me and you. And for all the guests that I've had on, I want to thank them again for coming on. But tonight, it's just me and you. So we're going to open up with, and again, I have not seen any of these questions, so I think that's going to be the interesting aspect of tonight. It's all going to be improvised. So you're going to get the raw, the uncut, the unfiltered version. Ain't no editing in this one. It's been a really easy week for me without having to record and edit. Just knowing that I can come in here and sit down, go live and talk with you all. I got to rest on Thursday, so that was good. But welcome everybody to the Wisdom Room podcast, episode 13. Unfiltered Wisdom, a wise Q&A with B. Let's go ahead and put our first question up and let's see what we got. All right, it says, what is your why that keeps you consistent with this podcast and kept you going? Great question. My why is simply obedience. This platform was something that God had put on my heart, and then He gave it to me in prophecy. And it's been an interesting ride. You know, I've been a part of a couple podcasts before, and this one though is what God has given me to steward. And so that's what keeps me going. Just obedience. And I'm also here to learn too. All of my guests that I've had on I've walked away from those episodes with more wisdom than I walked in with. And God is giving me a platform to give you all wisdom, but He's also teaching me through it as well. And So I'm here for that. My why is obedience to God. Thank you for that question. Apparently, I think we got a lot of questions that we're gonna get through. So I'm gonna do my best to go through there. Again, you all that are live, drop your questions in the comments. I would love to hear from you. We can go back and forth, and yeah, we'll go from there. Like Harmony said last week. Next question. All right. What did it take for you to start the Wisdom Room podcast? And what encouragement can you give someone else that God has led to start something, whether it be a podcast, business, or something else? What did it take? It took me not only receiving direction from God to do this episode, do this podcast, but it took some action from me. You know, faith without works is dead. So on January 1st, first of the year, I sat down and I put pen to paper. I wrote out a business plan for the podcast. I did my research and I looked up other people's start to podcasting. I was gifted a podcast pretty much starter kit. You can find it on Amazon. It came with a mixer, a couple mics, and then I got a phone to do my recording. It really doesn't take a lot to start a podcast. Everybody's got something unique to say, and if God has put it on your spirit to do something, it doesn't take much. I mean, like once I actually sat down and came up with the plan, everything started flowing from there. Also, I went to my covering as well. I went to Dr. Apostle Tammy Carter and Pastor Earl Carter once I had my whole plan written out, and I laid out the whole plan, and they agreed to cover it. So I do want to say that anything that God is leading you to do, consult with your covering about it. Sometimes it might not be the right time. Sometimes it might be the perfect time. But I do believe that you need a covering. I do believe that it's good to consult with others who have been down that road. And then another thing that I did as far as podcasts, I went and I looked up some of the greats, and I didn't even go to podcasting. In essence, this is a talk show. I bring people on to the platform, and for lack of better words, I interview them. And so I went back and I looked up the people who did good interviews. So I looked some Oprah clips up. I looked up some David Letterman clips. I looked up late night talk show people that were great, that did it for a long time, and studied them. When you want to be great in something, you got to study them. Just like with Kobe Bryant, my favorite basketball player, he studied Mike, and and with his work ethic, it was successful. Advice for anyone looking to do something that God has put on your spirit to do. You have to sit with it first. I think that if you just jump out there, um, it is a step, but you got to make sure that you're taking the right steps. You got to make sure that you're taking the steps that God wants you to take. Because when you get out there and start stepping on your own, you're gonna be stepping in a muddy hole, and you want to be stepping on good soil. Um, you got to know that God, if it's really God that has what He had, I'm sorry, if it's really God that has given you the wisdom to do something on His behalf, you have to do it in order. You have to do it in excellence. You cannot just jump out here um and not consult. That's why having a good circle is good. I want to shout out everybody at the top. You all are my circle, and when I came to you all with the idea, um it was everybody had blessings, and have been praying for this. You got to have people in your corner that's praying for your success. You don't want nobody in your corner that ain't praying for your success. So, as far as starting, I would say sit down with it. Well, first things first, let me go back. Let me go all the way back. Let me go all the way back. You got to start open with prayer. When you have the idea to do something, you need to pray about it first. We were talking about that in church today, Nehemiah. Before he even asked the king to go to Jerusalem and rebuild the wall, he stopped and prayed first and then went and asked the king. There's an order to it. So you got to take the time to pray and make sure that this is ordained by God. So pray, then do your due diligence and take that first step. A lot of people will talk like, yeah, I'm getting ready to do this, I'm getting ready to do that. But those are just words. Like you gotta there has to be an action behind it. um you're gonna need a little bit of money. um it wasn't free to start this. I poured a lot of money into the room that you see here, the equipment. Um and I mean, with any business, you got to have something. It's better if you have something tucked away that will start this. Your savings. What have you been saving for? Maybe you've been saving for this thing that God has put on your spirit. So um finances is important. And then also making sure you have a good team around you. um I we you There are very few times where you can do these things by yourself. um a business isn't a one-man show. So having a good team around you. I have two producers that are amazing. They come up with a lot of the questions that you see and hear me ask. They we have production meetings twice a week. Run it like a business. Run it. I mean, if you want it to be successful, it's got to have some kind of structure. So that's my advice on how I started the Wisdom Room podcast and what you can do to start whatever God has on your spirit. What else we got? Let's see. What's my beef with vegetables? All right. So I had my godmother Danae Scott on for our Mother's Day episode, and we talked about it a little bit then, but it's a texture thing for me. So one of my earliest memories in this life is eating, like being force fed green beans, and it was just a texture thing for me. And it just feels like I'm chewing on earth, and like I'm going outside grabbing a handful of grass and just chewing it. It's just not my thing. Now when it is juiced or made into a smoothie, I'll drink all the vegetables. But the actual aspect of consuming the vegetable, chewing it up and swallowing it is it makes me it makes me gag. It's not a comfortable thing for me. For a long time I was taking like men's multivitamins. I went into a GNC one day, and God bless Miss Beverly, who I went in there and I told her, I don't really eat vegetables. And she grabbed me by the ear and drugged me over and made me buy 2 bottles of those. And then today, Alicia Smith, shout out to Big Leash. She has a juice, like a juice company. And I bought a couple bottles of her product today, and I think I'm gonna keep doing that because I feel a lot better already. But yeah, no, it is a texture thing for me with the vegetables, y'all. All right, what else we got? Let's see. What legacy do you want the Wisdom Room podcast to leave behind? Um, Legacy wise, I want this to be something that generations of my family look back and see that I was being obedient, that I was giving a platform for people to share wisdom. Um, this is a podcast where wisdom and faith meet. So I want people to understand that I moved in this thing by faith, and I'm here to spread wisdom on behalf of God. It is my assignment, and when it's your assignment and you're walking in purpose, it's easy. There ain't been one episode that's been hard. Well, I don't know. The nieces last week, they when I tell y'all I had so much editing to do with them three, the legacy of my podcast is that God shared wisdom through this. I pray that my family that comes after me will look back and see Brandon and be proud of who I am in God and my obedience to God. So yeah, I appreciate you all. Before I take the next question, I do want to throw out there that we do have merch available. We have shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs. If anyone wants to sit back and enjoy a bottle of wine while you're watching the Wisdom Room podcast, we have wine corks, wine bags, kitchen aprons. Shout out to my dad Alfonso, who was featured in episode 1. Who has a printing business, and yeah, he's been looking out on the merchandise. But we do have them for sale. Shirts are 20 or 25, and then the hoodies are 40. You can email the Wisdom Room Podcast at gmail.com and put in your orders. Yeah, is I got a couple with the small emblem here, and I got a couple with the big emblem, and then it says "Now That's Wisdom" on the back. And throw out that hashtag now that's wisdom as well. So thank you. All right, what else we got? What's a green flag in a relationship that most people overlook? Their relationship with God. Um, it is important, especially if you're walking in your purpose and you're walking the path that God has for you. The greenest flag that you can find in a mate is, are they walking in their path with God in their obedience? It's big because the term unequally yoked. I was married previously, and I learned what unequally yoked really looked like, really felt like, and that's it's not fun. It's not fun. But the greenest flag that you can find is someone who has a great relationship with the Father. Somebody that wants to see the best version of you spiritually. There are some people that don't want you to be the best that you could be. And when it becomes um a tussle, or it becomes a contest or a competition to see who can be, you know, in better standing with God. That's th- there can be, God can use that. So, I'm always trying to be the best version of myself in God's eyes. And if that's where you're at in life, you should find a mate that wants to be their best version in God's eyes as well. That's the greenest flag. Yeah. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank everybody in the comments. I'm looking, I can see them here. We're going to put them up on the screen though. So like I said, if you have any questions for me to answer, throw them in the chat, and we'll put them on the screen. We'll discuss. Next question. All right. What kind of husband do you want to become before you actually become one? Wow. Um, mm, okay, hold on. Let me answer it this way. As a husband, you have order. Um, love your wives like Christ loved the church. You really have to dive into what that really means, because, you know, Christ died for the church. And as a husband, you must be willing to lay your life down for the person that God gives you. And there's a lot that goes into that specifically. Um, I want to be a loving husband. I want to be a caring husband, a generous husband. I want my wife to know that we are being led by God. Sometimes it ain't going to, it's not me leading. These are God's steps. And if you trust that I'm attached to God, then you can trust these steps that we taking. Um, and faithful. We live in a society now where it's glorified to not be faithful. And for me, that's just wild. I just, maybe because I had an example of what loyalty and longevity look like. You know, my grandparents were married 57, 59 years respectfully before their spouses passed. So I have a good example of what a loyal husband looks like. Um, Being excited to see his wife every time he comes home. Um, and I want to be a fun husband as well. We got to make memories, you know, dancing in the kitchen, or going on trips, experiencing life. Sometimes married couples can get bitter with each other just sitting in the house all the time. Now, there is peace in that, but every once in a while you got to get out and go do something. So as a husband, I want my wife to understand that these steps are led by God. So that's my answer. What else we got? What's more important? Trust, loyalty, communication, or respect? And why? My answer to that is respect. Respect is the most important of those, because it leads, if you respect someone, I'm sorry, can you put that back up? Thank you. If you respect someone, it leads to good communication. It leads to loyalty. It leads to trust. If you don't respect somebody, they're not worried about communicating with you. They're not worried about being loyal to you. They're not worried about trusting you. They're not worried about you trusting them. If you have a respect for someone, then those things will come naturally. If you don't respect them, those things will go by the wayside. And I definitely think, as a man, it's we desire respect, because we can understand mistakes, we can understand disagreements, but if there ain't no respect in the midst of that, then it can be chaos. If you respect me, even in moments of trials and tribulations, we can go further than if you don't respect me, and now I got to go sit on the roof because I got a nagging wife. Been reading them Proverbs, man. Shout out to everybody that did the Proverbs challenge. We're in the 31st day of Proverbs. I'm sorry, 31st day of the month. And we've read a book of Proverbs every day, shared what we thought. So shout out to everybody that participated in that. It was something that, um, consistency matters, and to do it every single day for 31 days straight, that means at the least you were in your word every single day. So consistency matters. Yeah. Let's see what direction we going in now. Why does trusting God, I'm sorry, what does trusting God actually look like to you? It looks like a blanket over your entire body, and God saying, stand up. God saying, make a right here. God saying, sit down. God saying, don't speak. God saying, now speak. Um, it's like you're walking through life blindly and waiting on his word. If you're obedient and you are actively seeking God, he will tell you when to move. He will tell you when to not speak. Um, it's not an easy process. There might be things that'll happen that you don't understand. Um, Apostle gives this example about, like you possibly missing your blessing because, God just told you to move. And I don't know if I heard him right. No, he spoke to you. He said, get up and go to the grocery store. And you might not even need anything from the grocery store, but there's somebody in there that you're called to. Um, it's really amazing when you actually say, okay, God, you told me to come here. I don't know why, but I'm here. Do with me what you will. And then that opportunity that God has created comes about and he takes it from there. But what it looks like walking through life with no vision, but trusting that his vision, his voice, and his will take you exactly where he needs you to be. It might not always be where you want to be, but um it's called faith. So that's my answer to that. See what we got. What would you never want your children to experience from you? Ooh. Oh, we're going. All right. Um, what would I never want my children to experience from you? Um, I used to have a temper problem. I used to be very irritable, and for as slick as my mouth is, when my temper would flare up, I didn't have a filter. In these days, sorry, in these days, I have I have a lot of control over my emotions. Am I here to say that I'm not, I don't get angry. I don't, sound off here and there. No, I'm not perfect. Um, but God willing, when he gives me children, I pray that, my anger and my temper would be under control. I know who I will be as a father, and I will be stern. I will be a disciplinarian. I will be a safe space for my child, though. Um, I know my child gonna give me a run for my money. I gave my parents a run for their money, but I pray that my temper and my emotions are regulated by God, and they get the best version of me. So that's my answer to that. All right. If you could tell your younger self one sentence, what would it be? Hmm. Psalms 41:10. That's what I would tell my younger self. Be still and know that I am God. Um, there were a lot of times, especially in my late teens, early 20s, where I couldn't be still for anything. If I was still, I was stagnant. And there were times where I moved when God hadn't told me to. I've always had a spirit for God, but I've never I didn't walk in it then. And so if I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be, wait until God tells you to move. Because I put myself in a lot of predicaments where if I'd have just been still, if I hadn't gone out that night, if I hadn't, talked to that one girl, if I hadn't, made that one trip, I'd probably be a little further along in life. I might have missed opportunities, or I might have, missed, um, I might have not had to go through the things that I went through if I would have just been still. Um, Easier said than done. But my younger self would move without thinking, without praying, and thinking that I knew better. And that wasn't the case a lot of times. So Psalms 41:10, be still and know that I am God. What we got? What version of yourself had to die for you to become who you are now? The version where I thought I knew better. There's a version of me that, I'm smart. I have street smarts and I have book smarts. And I thought that I knew better. And I didn't consider what God knew as better. I just moved, like I was saying on the last question. And that version of me had to die. I left that version of me in the water. And when I came back out, I realized that God knows better than me. And I trust his word and his will over my word and my will. That version of me had to die. And I'm glad it did. I'm glad it did. I'm glad I don't have to be to lean on my own understanding, because there's a lot of things, for all that I do understand about this world, there's a lot of things that I don't understand about this world. But I know one person that knows everything about this world, and that's God. And I was happy to leave that person in the water, to die, to drown. And the person that came back up is someone who knows that God knows better than me. Next question. She tripped me out when she did that, man. Shout out to my niece Harmony. All my nieces who joined us on the last episode. I love y'all. Y'all are my favorite people in the whole world. All right, what we got? What is God trying to teach you in this season that you think you've been avoiding? Ooh. What is God trying to teach me in this season? Elevation. Elevation is something that, I've been comfortable just being right here. I've been comfortable being right here. And little by little, he takes me up a little bit. And sometimes I don't even realize the elevation. But with my ministry, my me being a minister in training, you know, my covering, between God and my covering and my obedience to him, I'm noticing that I'm elevating. And in this season, you got to learn how to breathe up there. When he elevates you, it ain't the same oxygen levels. So he's teaching me how to breathe at an elevated plateau, one step at a time. I gave the I taught Bible study a couple times, and um for someone who, I'm still getting comfortable in public speaking. This platform it makes it a lot easier, especially in the comfort of my own home. But in this season, he's elevating, and again, I'm learning how to breathe in these elevated moments. Um, and like physically too, like inhaling and exhaling. Like you have to take your time at certain moments. You can't you get up there and you get up there all excited and willy-nilly, you'll pass out. Um, you know, but learning the to breathe and spiritually as well at higher when you get elevated um in God's kingdom, there's a there's a different standard, there's a different um way of life as you elevate. And so in this season, I think he's teaching me how to breathe in the midst of elevation. What else we got? What are you most proud of but rarely get asked about? Hmm. What am I proud of that I rarely get asked about? I am proud of my home. I am proud that I have a home to come home to that can't nobody put me out of. Um, Coming home every day and coming home to peace is something that I'm when I get home, most times I come through the door, thank you God for this home. It is comfortable. I have a nice couch. I have a nice bed. And it was all because I prayed for exactly what I wanted. And I prayed for God's will to be done. And I was given this home, and I am proud of that. You know, I've slept on couches. I've slept in hotel rooms. I've slept at mom's house, at dad's house, you know, but to be able to have this key on my key ring that opens up a home where my name is on, where I get mail to. I put up a post about my mailbox. And when I put my my name on the mailbox, like that was something. Um yeah, that's what I'm most proud of. And I thank God for it every day. What's one mistake in your life that you are actually grateful for? Hmm. All right, I'm not afraid of this question. And I rarely speak on it. I said something about it earlier. Um, my first marriage is my answer. My first marriage was a roller coaster. Um, I was I had my experience with God, and 3 days later, I was put in front of the person that I eventually end up marrying. We got married in 32 days, and I believed that that's what God's will was. If you think about a 3-day old baby, it can hear your voice, but it can't um, make out the words. And so I believe that I still to this day believe that I was hearing God's voice, but um, maybe it wasn't the words to marry that person. So fast forward to that, 6 or 5 months into that, we separated for a month. And in the midst of that, she went to this church. And when we reconciled, she said, "Hey, I checked out this other church. You know, we should go check it out." And I took a chance, and we walked into the Tabernacle of Power and Worship Center in Tappahannock, Virginia. And 15 minutes in to that service, Apostle Tammy Carter called me to the front because she saw a light on me, and she prophesied to me. And God spoke through her, and it became a safe haven for me spiritually. Um, I give everybody at the top the highest praises, because you all saved me and y'all don't even know it. I was still going to both churches when me and my ex-wife divorced formally. My church family was there for me. I joined as a disciple of Christ at the Tabernacle of Power and Worship Center, and it was one of the greatest things that could have ever happened in my life. I've learned so much from everybody in that church. I have a family that prays for Brandon, and it's I don't make it to. I said all that because I don't make it to the top unless me and my ex-wife separate and then get back together, and she goes over there and then takes me over there. Um, Maybe I wasn't meant to marry her, but I found a church home and great people to worship with and learn from in the midst of that. So yeah, did the roller coaster bang me up a little bit? Yeah, it did. But um I got a great hospital to go to anytime. I got great doctors that help me through that, make sure that I'm at my best. And I mean, I don't get there unless I actually marry the woman. So, that's the truth. That's the answer to the question. Miss Crawley says, have you ever prayed for something or someone and God sent it or them? You knew it was God, but it's not what you wanted or expected. If so, how did you feel? Um, Hold on, let me read that one more time. Have you ever prayed for something or someone and God sent them to you? Yes. You knew it was God, but it's not what you wanted or expected. Um, in the walk that I'm in now, it's not about what I expect. It's not. My expectation is whatever your will is, God. That's what I expect. Whether it be good, bad, ugly, beautiful. Um, if it's sent from you, I will have it. I will have it. Um, when you speak of God sending you someone, um, that's something that God has to put on your spirit. As far as God sending you someone, that person also has to be walking in the same line of obedience for you all to cross paths. Um, I do believe that we meet every single person that we meet for a reason. Um, but if you are walking the path that God wants you walking, He will put the person that he has meant for you in that path. It might take a little longer than you want it. It might be uncomfortable getting there. Um, it's like I said it earlier. It's like a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster. But if you know God is at the controls, you trust everything about it. You know you're gonna pull up to the station, get off, and ride it again. Um, God sends people to you for a season or a reason, and it's up to you to have the discernment to recognize which is which. Um, but I as I grow in the spirit, as I lean on God's understanding and not mine, I realize that He's gonna get you uncomfortable so that you can get comfortable. I hope that answered your question, Miss Crawley. Monique Williams asks, what did God remove from your life that hurt at first but made sense later? Hmm. What did God remove from my life that hurt at first but made sense later? Um, Women. He removed certain women out of my life um, to get to the woman that I have now. Um, there are moments where um, you don't understand why you part ways with someone, and it's hard to see the um, the long term in that moment. Um, I couldn't understand why my marriage ended. I couldn't understand why I was uprooted from my home in Maryland and placed down here. There were times where I did not understand. Um, but when you go through it and when the process is complete, God will show you. So there's my answer, Miss Monique. Next question. Why do we praise God more at our lowest moments than our highest moments? Ooh, why do we do that? Well, I have two answers to that. We praise God at our highest moments because we recognize that a good thing is a blessing from God. But there are also painful blessings that God gives us as well. We have to go through certain situations, and those are blessings. I did Bible study a couple nights ago, and the four words were count it all joy. And we got to give him praises even in the midst of the trials. Um, the moments of persecution, the moments that don't seem like blessings. We got to be better about that. We have to give him praises in our low moments as well as our high moments. It's easy to give God, you know, praise and worship when, you just hit the lottery. But do you give him the same praise and worship when it's all gone? We have to learn to do that because he's the same good God that let you hit the lottery as the same good God when your bank account says zero, when it says negative 13 cents. We got to give him praise um in the highs and the lows, the twists and the turns, the peaks and the valleys. So what else we got? What's a question you are afraid to ask yourself? Hmm. I, I think my relationship with myself nowadays is in the best place it's ever been. I'm not afraid of myself or my light. Um, Trying to think about it. I don't think I have a question that I don't ask myself. Um, yeah, I don't think I have a question that I'm afraid to ask myself. I'll ask myself um anything that comes to my conscious. But I'm also asking God those same questions and asking God to give me the answers that I would have for myself. Because again, I don't lean on my own understanding anymore. So what's the point of asking myself a question? I'd rather ask him and have him give me revelation and guidance on any question that I could have for Brandon. Again, I want to thank everybody in the comments. Y'all are, and everyone tuning in. I want to take a moment to hold on. I'm gonna get to that question in a moment. I want to take a moment and Um, just give some love and appreciation to the ones that are here every week, the ones that look forward to this podcast and what God is going to do. You all know who you are. You're usually the ones that are on at 7 o'clock, that set a reminder, that share, the content that goes up. Like every share, every like, I see every single one of them. And I want to say to you all, the ones that are here now, I appreciate you all. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting, for liking, for sharing, and being a part of this. You all are a part of this ride as well. And I genuinely thank you all for all the love and support. So, um, now where we at? What does being emotionally safe with someone feel like? Oh, mm. As a man, we don't really it's it, mm, being emotionally safe can look like something different for every person. And but for me, um emotionally safe means that I can let my guard down. We have to, in this world, we have to walk around with our chin tucked, with our right hand up for defense, you know, left hand ready to strike. Um, but to be emotionally safe means I can come in and just let my guard down. Um, tell you what I'm really feeling without without the the thought in the back of my mind that this could be used against me at a later date. Um, emotionally safe for me is comfort, is conversation, respect, loyalty, trust, all those things that was in that one question. Um, and that's when I can be Brandon. I've never had a problem with expressing my emotions. Um, now there's a lot of, I'll speak for men specifically. There's a lot of men that were not taught how to express their emotions. And so that emotional guard never comes down. And that is something that us as men, we need to work out in therapy. We need to work out in church. We need to work out within ourselves. Um, but when you do find that person that is divinely sent to you, it will be easy. It is easy to be vulnerable in or with a mate that is sent from God, because that person knows how to protect it. These are great questions. How would you express to someone who's always been in a relationship that sometimes being alone is necessary? Ooh, leave that up for a second though. How would you express to someone who's always been in a relationship that sometimes being alone is necessary? Um, First I would start with the aspect of always being in a relationship and checking the fruit on that relationship. Do you have joy? Do you have all the fruits of the spirit in that relationship? Because if you're missing any, then it might not be the relationship for you. There's a fine line there, because you don't want to sow discord, but God has to get us alone sometimes to understand what he wants. And when you are addicted to relationships, when you're addicted to people, you neglect the personal time that God requires. Um, I am a people person. I love being around people. I've learned to be on my own and take my time with myself and enjoy myself, take myself on dates and just go get breakfast by myself. Um, but I do like there are people in this world that prefer companionship. And with those people, if they don't have companionship, their world can fall apart. Uh it's something that if you're the friend that wants that person to understand um what isolation and the benefits of isolation are, um like I said, there is a fine line on talking about it with that person. On the other side of it, you can't push, if you are a person who likes to be alone, you can't push your narrative a on a person who prefers companionship. Now, if God is telling you in your spirit that that person needs to understand that isolation sometimes is a good thing, um, then pray about it first and ask God to give you the words. Because if you start speaking to that person out of your flesh, it could go completely left and you could lose that friendship. We all want what's best for our friends, for our family. I had to learn a hard lesson last year. I had a brother that was in a space in life where um I thought he could be better if he got closer to God, right? And so there was this conference that I booked tickets to, and I was going to have him come with me, and he agreed to it, and then at the last second he backed out, and I was emotional about it because I was doing my due diligence as a brother to help my brother get closer to God. And when I talked to my covering about it, and after the cancellation, you know, she said, "You don't understand that you could possibly be a speed bump in where God or what God is doing in their life." And that hit me in my chest because even though I was doing in my spirit what I considered a good thing, there's a possibility that it wasn't a God thing. Maybe God had something in the cancellation for my brother that if he actually would have came with me, it would have gotten in the way of what God was trying to do with them. If we bring it all the way back around to the original question, um, first thing you do, pray about it, because you don't want to go in this leading with where your mind and your heart is, and it's not where God's mind and heart is. So pray about it first and wait for instruction on how to handle it. And then also, when if God does give you the green light to have that discussion, time and place. You have to do it on God's time, not your time. Um, and do it constructively. It can't be an attack. Um, like I said, you're walking a fine line there. So um be mindful of what God wants you to say and not what you want to say. And um yeah, that's my advice on that. All right. Monique Williams, what's a prayer you're still waiting on to be answered? Hmm. What's a prayer that you're still waiting on to be answered? That my siblings get closer to God. Um, I am the oldest of 13 total. Um, and as I sit here and think about it, in the morning, throughout the day, I'm in prayer. Um, and I pray for my family. Um, but there's a special prayer that I have for my siblings, for Brianna, for Balai, for Tony Jr., for Carl, for Talus, for Trey, for Donne, for Destin, for Chase, that for Tony, that they all get closer to God. I I pray that I can be an example to them and what God can do if you get closer to him, if you seek him every day. That's one that I pray for. I pray that they get closer to God. I love y'all. Next question. All right, y'all. This is this is gonna be different for me. We're gonna do some rapid fire wisdom with me, your host, Brandon. Um, I have not again I have not seen these questions. So yeah, let's get into some rapid fire wisdom with your boy. All right. What's harder, waiting on God or obeying God? Waiting on God is harder. Obeying is easy. When God speaks, move. What's one truth you had to accept about yourself? That my ceiling is something that I should be reaching through. What's something you're afraid to lose? My faith. What's one thing you've learned about love? If it ain't God's love, I don't want it. If God sat across from you right now, what question would you ask him? And what question do you think he would ask you? I don't I don't think I would ask God any questions. I just give him thanks. And what question do you think he would ask you? Um he would probably ask me why I'm so goofy in serious moments. And I would tell him, "Hey, that's on you, player. You made me. You made me this way." What's your biggest motivation right now? God's grace. God's blessings is my biggest motivation. I've seen it. I've seen God's blessings. I've experienced God's blessings, and I want more. What's one thing you think people need more of? Um Reading their word. I think people need to read their word more, and I not on your phone. I think you need to get in the physical, the Bible itself. Um, there might be a time where technology is out the window, and do you still got the word on you? Do you still got that clip loaded? Um, yeah, I think we need to get in our word more. If God answered every prayer you prayed this year so far, would you be ready for it? Absolutely, without a doubt. Every prayer. I'm mindful in my prayer closet. I pray for what I pray that God gives me exactly what I need. It might not be what I want, but what I really want is his will to be done. So um yeah, if God answered every prayer, yeah, would I be ready for it? Absolutely. All of it. What part of your life are you afraid to fully submit to God? Oof. Um no part. Like God has it all. Like this is yours, Father. This there isn't a part of my life that I'm afraid to fully submit to God. I trust him. I trust him with every bit of it. If you could give your younger self a piece of wisdom, what would it be? Be still. Oh, and shut up sometimes. Shut your mouth. There are times I should have just shut my mouth. I'm in the midst of a trial right now, and it was tested today, and I shut my mouth. And yeah, I'm proud that I actually did that instead of reacting. So yeah. What do you hope people remember about you when you're gone? Um, I hope that people remember that I wanted to spread joy. I wanted people to smile, to laugh, to love, and to get closer to God. I want people to see my life and remember that he was always trying to make God smile. What truth do you wish more people understood? That Jesus came, he lived, he was crucified, and he was resurrected for everything that we could do wrong. That he is the way, the truth, and the light. The life. The light or the life? The light and the life. I wish more people understood that Jesus gave his life for the likes of me and you. All right. What's one piece of advice you wish someone would have given you 10 years ago? 10 years ago, I was 28. Ooh, where was I at 28? Mm-mm. You don't need to impress everybody. I go through this life, and there are times I mean I have natural talent that I don't have to give much effort in being excellent in. But there were times in my late 20s where I would go out of my way to um impress, and I never needed to. So 10 years ago I would have said stop trying to impress people. And that was rapid fire wisdom. Yeah, no, that was I now understand what it means to be in that hot seat. Oh man, thank you for those questions, production. Y'all are great. Um y'all are dope. Again, I just want to thank everybody that's here. Thank everybody that will watch later. Oh, hold on. Before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to my sister Shanisha. Shanisha Baylor. Was on our episode a couple weeks ago, and she did the song that is the introduction and the closing to my podcast, and she made it into a song. We shot a video, and Two for Show's video for I Know My God is over 10,000 views in well, let's see, in a month, less than a month, maybe. So to my sister, Shy Boogie, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. Thank you again for doing it, and thank you for letting me be a part of it. But that 10,000 views, I am so proud of you. I wake up and I be checking that. We got to celebrate our folks, y'all. Like, we have to, like, when someone is moving in obedience in God, and you see them, and you can, and those numbers don't lie. Like, those numbers don't lie. She has reached 10,000 plus people with that song, and probably many more, and many more to come. But my sister, I am proud of you. I saw you in church today, And that 10,000, that number keep growing. So Boogie, my sister, I'm proud of you. I know my God is a hit, and I thank you for your obedience and the whole process, and thank you for letting me be a part of it. So yeah, yeah. What else we got? Let's see. Do we got any? We got more questions? Well, maybe we don't have it. Let me go back through these comments. I see my sister Cora. Cora, and let me give another shout out. My brother Raymond Bunch graduated from Anchor Theology and Bible Institute. I believe. Oh, let me throw in Sister Rosalind Farrell. Both of you all completing your studies and graduating theology school. Shout out to y'all, man. Like, I'm so proud of y'all. Brother Raymond was on um about a month ago. Him and Sister Cora came out to the wisdom room, and I watched you walk across that stage, um head held high, and I'm proud of you, my brother, and my sister Rosalind. I'm gonna be reaching out to you. Actually, check your inbox, because we're trying to get you on this Wisdom Room podcast as well. But I do want to shout you all out, and congratulate you all for your obedience to God and finishing schooling. It's up from there, y'all. It's up. We got work to do. So yeah, let's see what else. Who else we got? I see you in the likes, my brother. I see you in the likes. Anybody else celebrating anything? My sister Parker, Sharia, yes. Heard that you graduated. Got your bachelor's or your master's. Congratulations to you. And I made a comment earlier about the folks that did the 31 days of Proverbs with me. You were one of them. So big shout out to you finishing that schooling. I'm proud of you, my sister. So congratulations to you. If y'all celebrating anything, or even the small victories, or some big victories, share them in the comments. Let me see what y'all talking about. I don't know how much longer we're gonna be on. I think we done ran through most of the questions, or if not all of the questions. I don't hear nothing. Hmm. Say that again. That is it for the questions. Now, what do I want to talk about? Let's see. Let's see what God puts on my spirit to talk about. Um, I was talking with my dad yesterday. We talked on the phone for probably about an hour, and he spoke to me about um the path that I'm on. The he loves the fact that I'm doing this here. On my first episode, we featured this home, which is an heirloom, built by my great grandfather Ernest. My grandmother Evelyn Carter made this house a home, and he grew up here. I'm actually in the room that he slept in as a child. And to see this room being used to spread wisdom, to spread the gospel, um, he told me how proud of me he was, for doing this, doing it every week. And it hits different when your dad tells you he's proud of you. Um, we talked, and dad, yes, look, you said something to me that I literally just did, and I'm trying to work myself out of. This saying, is I can't stand the fact that I do that. And we talked about it, and I've done it a couple times tonight. I've tried to keep a mind on not doing it. But as you can see, sometimes, and as you grow, in your purpose. As you walk in your purpose, you're going to find little things that you can work on. I am 13 episodes into this podcast, and I learn something new every single time I go up. When you go to start whatever God has for you to start, understand that you're not going to know everything day one. You can do all the research in the world, but episode 1 to episode 13, I have learned more about audio, video, and editing than I ever thought I would day one. Um, so when you get ready to start, and there was a question at the beginning that was asking about, what to do or what to expect when you start. Don't go into that thing thinking you know everything, because there was an episode that we put up, and we were going to do a live reaction to it. So the episode was going to play, and then I was going to be sitting here and reacting and going back and forth with you all. And what I learned in that episode is that on the camera, you have to unmute it, and you can't unmute it from the backstage. That helped me for this episode tonight, because it almost happened again. And then we remembered, oh no, we have to come in and we have to unmute it from here. You are going to learn a lot through trial and error. And don't be afraid of that. Every error, every mistake is something for you to learn. And there's no shame in it unless unless you don't learn anything from it. You have to be coachable. You have to be mindful, and you have to be open to learning. Because if you're not open to learning about the new thing that God has for you, you're going to be doing it out of your own will and not his, and it's going to flop. So, a little bit of wisdom for you. I pray that reaches someone. I knew this wasn't going to be a long episode, but I do appreciate everybody that tapped in, everybody that liked, that shared, that subscribed. I do want to throw out there one more time that we do have merchandise available. We are selling t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs. I'm actually working on phone. I don't know if I'm going to do phone cases or phone, the little pop sockets that you can put on the back of your phone and use it as a holder. Of course, you all know that I manage a phone store, so I might throw that in people's gift as a gift or something. But we do have merchandise available. You can place your orders at the Wisdom Room Podcast at gmail.com. Also, if you feel led to sow into this podcast, the Cash App is the Wisdom Room Podcast, or $, the Wisdom Room Podcast. And we appreciate any donation that you feel led to sow into. We steward this thing in excellence. And I would this entire podcast and production would appreciate if you feel led to sow. Please do. I want to take a moment to thank the producers of my show. I want to thank Monique Williams, who you all see in the comments, Pastor Latika Wiley, let me go back. Monique does a lot of the questions. You all compliment the questions that are asked on this show. Give it up for Monique. She puts some time and effort into these questions. We have to get to know our guest, and then we go in and she puts a lot of effort into the questions. So thank you, Monique, for that. Pastor Latika, production, teaching us the StreamYard application and giving us the confidence to do what we do here. I genuinely, and then being a part of every of the production meetings, I genuinely appreciate your presence and your blessings in this as well. Apostle Tammy Carter, who does the posters, the flyers that you see every week, and these last couple flyers, them joints been, yeah. I appreciate those. Not that the old ones was bad, but these ones are so good. Like they're dope. And I thank you for helping me out with that. Thank you for providing the time that you put into it to do that. Also, my mom and dad that are in merchandising, with the shirts, the cups, the time and effort into the merchandising. I thank you all. Everyone, it's like I said earlier, it's good to have a good team around you. So thank you to everyone who helps make this thing roll. It's good to be driving a car with 4 great tires on it. So I appreciate it. And then I want to thank God. God is the reason that all of this is happening. And I'm here for any blessing you got for it. So thank you, God. I genuinely appreciate it. Were there any more questions from the comment section? I can't see all the comments, so okay. I just got the notification that there are no more questions. But again, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been episode 13 of the Wisdom Room podcast, Unfiltered Wisdom, a wise Q&A would be. I pray that you all have a blessed week. Peace and blessings.
Did you know that God will give you wisdom to get through the test you think you're about to fail? He will also put you in rooms where wisdom is already there. You just have to go grab it. That's the kind of God we serve. Welcome to the Wisdom Room.